Now let's see this example where we have to find number of relations possible over the set of n elements with these properties. Let's first discuss about the number of relations possible over the set of n elements with the property of being symmetric. Now let's first see in how many ways we can select an unordered pair out of this n elements of a set. Now here we want our relation to be symmetric, so an ordered pair of AA is allowed to be in relation. So we have to select this unordered pair out of n elements with replacement, so that the element A, which has been already chosen once, can get chance of getting selected twice. So this is a classic example of combination where we want to select two elements from n elements with replacement. So we can select it in n into n plus 1 by 2 ways. Now for each of this unordered pair selected, we have two options. Let's say when A is equal to B, that means the ordered pair is of nature AA, then we have two choices for including it into the relation. Either we can include that in relation, or we can drop that pair out of relation, because the relation we want is to be symmetric. Also, when A is not equal to B, that means the ordered pair is of nature A B, where A is not equal to B, then also we have two choices. Either we can select both the ordered pairs AB and BA because we want our relation to be symmetric, or we can drop both these ordered pairs AB and BA. So thus for all this n into n plus 1 by 2 ways in which we can select our unordered pair, there are two choices for each of this unordered pair to be included in our symmetric relation. So therefore the number of symmetric relations that can exist on set with n elements is equal to 2 to the power n into n plus 1 by 2. Let us now see how many antisymmetric relations are possible over the set with n elements. Let us first select ordered pairs of nature AA, where an element of the set is related to itself. So because there are n elements into the set, so there are n such ordered pairs possible in the relation. Now we want our relation to be antisymmetric, so there is no restriction regarding including such ordered pairs of nature AA into the relation or dropping such ordered pairs out of the relation. So for each of such n ordered pairs we have two choices. Either we can select it or we can drop it. Let's see what happens when the two elements of the ordered pairs are not same. We first need to select an unordered pair out of n elements without replacement for this purpose. Without replacement because we want these two elements A and B of unordered pair to be different. So this is very simple. There are n into n minus 1 by 2 ways in which an unordered pair can be selected from the n elements where A is not equal to B. And there are two ordered pairs possible out of each such unordered pair selected. Those are AB and BA. Now because we want our relation to be antisymmetric, so for each of such unordered pairs selected we have three choices. We can either select an ordered pair AB, or we can select an ordered pair BA, or we can drop both the ordered pairs out of relations. But we cannot select both the ordered pairs AB and BA simultaneously because we want our relation to be antisymmetric. So for each of such n into n minus 2 unordered pairs we have three choices possible. Now the total number of antisymmetric relation possible over the set of n element can be obtained by multiplying these choices here with the number of choices here. So we get the total number here by multiplying these two choices, and in this way the number of antisymmetric relations possible on the set with n elements are equal to 3 to the power n into n minus 1 by 2 multiplied by 2 to the power n. In similar way, here is the solution for part C, part D, part E and part F. Now in this example they have asked about a number of possible transitive relations over the set with n elements. Now when n is equal to 1, there are two transitive relations possible. One is the transitive relation which contains ordered pair AA and another is the null relation. Now when the set is having two elements, then there are 13 relations possible which are transitive. Here is the list of those 13 relations over the set of two elements A and B. I have not attempted to find out number of transitive relations possible over the set with 3 elements, simply because I could not come up with any technique for that. If MR is a matrix representation of relation R defined over a set of A, then the ordered pair AIBJ is represented by the matrix element belonging to ith row and jth column. This element is equal to 1 whenever the ordered pair AIBJ exists in R and 0 otherwise. Now for a symmetric relation, MIJ is equal to MJI. This results into MR and its transpose being the same matrix. Now recall the point that the inverse of the relation is represented by the transpose of the matrix representation of relation, and therefore for the symmetric relation, relation and its inverse are the same. Here is the example of how to represent a given relation into the matrix form. When two matrices R and S are given, and if they meet all the requisite conditions for finding the composite relation of R and S, then the matrix representation of this composite relation R and S can be obtained by performing bitwise product on the matrix representation of R and matrix representation of S. Finding the bitwise product of two matrices is similar to finding the product of two matrices, where the multiplication is replaced by AND operation and addition is replaced by OR operation. A relation can also be represented by a digraph where an ordered pair AB is represented by a directed edge from A to B. For relation to be reflexive, it must contain loops at all the nodes, relating those nodes to itself. For relation to be symmetric, if there exists an edge between two nodes, then there must be another edge between this particular nodes, completing the cycle of length 2 between these two nodes. Now let's see what a closure of relation is. Let's say relation R is defined over a set of A. R may not contain some properties such as being reflexive, transitive, etc. Now suppose there is another relation S which contains relation R and has a property P. Moreover, S is a minimal relation which contains relation R and has a property P. In other words, S is a subset of any relation which contains relation R and has a property P. So such smallest relation which contains relation R and has a property P is called the closure of relation R with respect to that property P. Let's see it by an example. Here relation R is defined over a set of 1, 2, 3 and has this 4 ordered pairs. Now this relation is clearly not reflexive because it does not include ordered pairs 2, 2 and 3, 3, which relate elements 2 and 3 to themselves. Now we can obtain relation S by adding those two ordered pairs into relation R. This way we get relation S defined over the same set 1, 2, 3 and contains these 6 ordered pairs. Further, this relation S is subset of any relation that contains relation R and has a property of being reflexive. So therefore, this relation S is a reflexive closure of R. A reflexive and symmetric closure of a relation can be obtained very easily when a relation is represented by a digraph. Whenever the loops at the nodes are absent, we can find the reflexive closure of the relation easily by simply adding those loops at the nodes. To find the symmetric closure of the relation, we have to ensure that whenever an edge between two nodes exists in a relation, it must be a part of a cycle of length 2 between these two nodes. By ensuring that both the loops and the cycle of length 2 exist whenever required, we can find the reflexive and symmetric closure of the given relation. We just checked out how to find the reflexive closure of R. But what about the irreflexive closure of R? Let's say relation R is not irreflexive. Then there can be no relation that contains relation R and has a property of being irreflexive. And therefore, the concept of irreflexive closure is rather useless.